kind of just expect to muddle along and make some whiffs. And I got 2 different camera angles, so I guess I'll do a little bit of an intro thing first. I'll swap to this other camera. So I'm gonna make a wig similar to this one. This one hasn't been like cut or really styled in any sort of way other than I did a part on the side. But it's, I made the wig cap from just regular sort of pantyhose and this latex mold builder. It's just like liquid latex basically, but not so liquidy. So unfortunately this wig technique is not for those that are allergic to latex, but I fortunately am not, and these wigs are just for me, and I know which of my friends are allergic to latex, and I try to be real diligent. You know, if I meet someone new and they want to handle a wig or something, I always, try to remember, hey, this one's made with latex on it, so I can kind of warn them. Because, having red, itchy, irritated hands and stuff is not fun. But this wig is incredibly full. It took a really long time to make, but I kinda love it. The big foofiness of it, which is part of why I haven't cut this one at all. I might eventually, but it's kind of a fun sort of gag wig. But I am making this for my Maddybear Starlight. I got her at Resin Rose this year, 2022. I already started the wig cap. Like I said, it's just pantyhose and a couple of layers of that latex. I think I'm on layer 3 at the moment. And I might do one more layer. I like the wig to be able to really hold its shape when I take it off a doll. I might have to be a little bit careful because of how her head shape is. I want to make sure I can get it on and off pretty easy. One tip for when you're making your wig cap, which took me a couple of tries to figure out and learn, some of the people that I watched, when they put their hose on, they put it on, like stretch it really tight. And for me, that ended up not working well, which the people I was watching, they probably were making a hard cap wig, which, I think that would probably be just fine. But for latex, because it's squishy and can change shape, that did not work. So I always put the pantyhose on really loose, and I always use string to tie behind the ears just to make sure you can get something that fits behind the ears really well. Sometimes by the neck is needed too, but the shape of this doll, it wasn't really needed. And then when I'm happy with this, I'll take it off and I'll cut the hairline. But I'll probably do that later. There's no need to do it now because I've got a ton of wefts to make. So as far as wefts go, I take links of yarn and I wrap them around this stick, and then I brush them out with a pet bristle comb kind of deal to get all the excess out. And this will make a ton of fluff, which I depends on how sort of lazy I'm being. I actually keep the fluff, so this little bit and this bit that I made here made this whole bucket of fluff. It's good for, if you need to stuff something, or, what if I want to try to, what's it called, felt something that maybe, I don't know 100% this will work, because it's acrylic, it's not wool, but, I figure I could try to find uses for it at some point. no need to throw it in the trash. So yeah. Also too, if you want to go for a different sort of style, you could use a straightener to straighten the acrylic. But for her, I kind of want this wavy deal going on, so I'm just leaving them as is. I'll grab a wig and I'll show you what a straight one looks like. Ooh, sorry. So this is another foofy wig that I did trim and straighten. So I'll grab the other one because you can just see there's a texture. I mean, I know it's hard because this is black, but there's a texture difference between them. And it's, you know, it's neat that you can get such a variety out of them. Throw those off to the side. And for me at least, I picked up this cheapo little tiny flat iron to work with, just because like it's not so wieldy. It's small. It doesn't have any temperature controls, but it does fine for me. I haven't had any problems with it melting the acrylic or anything, unless I just like leave it on there too long. The other trick when it comes to straightening your yarn, after, it depends, it can vary per yarn, but I find sometimes you have to straighten it and then make sure that you sort of hold it taut so that as it cools, it won't get like one or two kinks in it, if that makes sense. Because sometimes it'll heat up and then it'll sort of wonk a little bit. So just a little tip there. I also use this other really fine comb. I think it's for lice or de-shedding, or I'm not sure, but this one's also, I use it in a different step of this process, which absolutely not necessary, but I like it. I find it helpful. So I guess I can show you this other thing too. I found this on clearance at a craft store. It's this little ball with like this rubber end that you can put a ball of yarn in, and you just pull, and like you don't have to worry about your ball of yarn taking a road trip. And for me, more importantly, my cat's going after it. And it, even pulling on the string, like it stays in place. It's not a worry. So this is actually a really recent found that I did, and it's not necessary, but I like it. I'm all about working smarter, not harder. And I also use some just flat end silicone tools for working with my latex. Like here's some wefts that I did. I accidentally got some latex in the bottom of this, but I figure now that it's dried, I can try to pick it out, but it might just have to exist in there some, or get rid of that section. I think the worst part of this is I hate the sound of the brush. Ooh. There we go. That took out a little bit of the fluff, but it got the latex out, so we're good to go. Pulled up part of it. The nice thing about latex is it dries pretty quickly, and it sticks to itself. So you literally could just cut hair, paint latex on the wig cap, and just stick it on. and you're done. But because I want to make this wig so full, I'm not doing that, but you know, you can. I tend to go a bit overboard when it comes to detail and wanting to make things really strong and that sort of thing. It's also handy because you could wash your wig if you ever needed to, like if you wanted to use product in it or something. Whereas like wigs made from water-based glues, you wouldn't really want to do that. So yeah, that's a little intro. So I'm gonna occasionally notch a carrot or an apple and start working on some wefts. I'm probably gonna mute myself unless someone starts in the chat. I do have chat up so I can read it if someone says something. But otherwise I'm gonna kind of heads down and get into it. And feel free to ask questions or whatever. I suppose I could go over this part a little bit. So I'm making my wefts really thin because at the top of this wig, at its crown, I ended up taking this, a couple of long wefts and rolling them up so that I could then part it, kind of any way that I want. So that's what I'm doing here. And you'll see me use this blue brush. I'll show you in a second. So I cut cut the end off, and I make sure I keep my fingers in place to hold all of the threads, and then I use my little glue brush to get sort of the extra small length yarns from the top, just because like there's no reason for it to be bulky, and look at all that extra yarn that I pulled off. And then I use my other fingers to kind of calm it down a little bit. And I put some latex down, like a little strip of it, so that I make sure I can soak the fibers really well. So then I kind of get it in a position where it's easier to put it down and let go, and then I just put one finger over to hold it in place, because otherwise they might kind of go rogue and go where you don't want them to go. I just make sure all the fibers are all saturated with stuff. Sometimes you need to go pick up a little bit more. I also am sort of trying to help spread it to make sure that it's the hair is sort of evenly distributed, if that makes sense. And sometimes I'll get some extra yarn bits on my tool which can get in the way, so I just pick them off every once in a while. And that's it. I just do that a ton. It's a long, tedious process. I like streaming while I do it because it makes it less boring if there's people to hang out with, you know. And I know some people just sort of enjoy this kind of content. It's not for me, being a spectator of it, but some people like it, and you know, you get into fun conversations. So, as I mentioned before, I'm probably gonna mute, and then, you know, if someone decides they want to chat or have questions or something, I'm happy to unmute and chat. I suppose I could chat a little bit about my plans for this doll. I actually wasn't familiar with this brand or this doll maker at all before Resin Rose, and they had a booth there, and they were really lovely. And they did one of theirs up sort of in this kind of, so I guess I'll back up here. I haven't fully had coffee yet, so my brain's kind of so for this type of doll, they have this really cool like scalloped shaped thigh topper pieces, and at the show they had one done up with like gilding, sort of like, you know, fine porcelain or teacup, and I was like, ooh, that's interesting. And then I started thinking about, you know, shiny things that I think are pretty, and I've got some ideas for sort of making her very opal inspired, very ethereal kind of thing. And you know, I got an idea for what I want to do for clothing, and the wig idea isn't fully formed, but I figure it's one of those things that will get worked out as we go. She's definitely, most of my dolls have a particular character and tie into my couple of stories I have going on. But this one is just gonna be a pretty doll. And that's okay. I've got a few of those. They don't get as much picture time and all that as my other ones, but they're still there. I do want to do like a dolly photo shoot thing soon. It's been a while since I've just dedicated some photography time to my dolls. That'll be fun to get back into. One thing I haven't super thought about is what I want to do for her shoes, but I know a certain really talented shoemaker that one can hope that they'll end up making shoes for this doll. Or I can also try to make something nice too. That'll probably be one of the last challenges. And to be fair, she comes with really nice resin heels too. So maybe I'll just end up using those too, because they are lovely as well. And I rummaged through my eye drawer, and I found some Oscar doll eyes for her that are really pretty for now. They might not stay her eyes, but I think they fit the bill for now. She's definitely gonna kind of evolve as things go, because I'm just working off of like sort of inspiration, right? I might try to color this white yarn a little bit too, like do some like pastel colors of strips of things to sort of like go for that opal kind of feel. I feel like I've seen people do, for yarn wigs, do some custom coloring with, what was it? They did pastel and then they iron it? But I don't really want to iron this yarn. I'll have to experiment a little bit, see where we go with it. very nice getting back into the swing of things. I'd really stepped away from a lot of creative activities for way too long. I'm hopefully also getting close to doing, being able to do the sort of studio tour thing that I know some people had asked for. I'll try to do 2 this time instead of just 1. See how it works out. Extend this a little bit. Yeah, I think that worked out okay. Keep working with that method. I suppose that's also another good tip. So this latex that I have out, I used to be a dum-dum and would just leave the lid off the bottle as I worked. And I realized it started, basically curing the whole jar. And this stuff, it's not incredibly expensive if you think about like how, at least for me, how many wigs I get out of 1 jar of it and how long it lasts. But these days it's gotten a lot more expensive than it was. So anyway, to help make it last even longer, I just take out a smudge of it and use that, and then when I run out of that smudge, I get a new smudge of it. It works well. And another tool that I use that I haven't talked about is I have a little fan that I can turn on. The latex dries decently quick, but when you put a fan on it, it's like super, you know, way more quicker. Which I'm probably gonna turn on, but hopefully it's not too loud for you guys. Let's see. Let's rearrange things a little bit. I'm not using this iron, so I'll put that away. I'm gonna keep these just so I could count later and see like how many wefts I've put put on here. Okay. I suppose I could work on cutting off her wig cap. Swap cameras. I'll probably see if I can make a little bit better angle here. There we go. On second thought, I think I'm gonna do another layer of latex on her. So I'm just gonna use up this goop I have left over from doing the weft stuff, and because I'm not allergic to latex, I just use my finger and smooge it on. Because I used a new stocking for this, because I can make a couple of wigs with a stocking, and my last one I happened to just, you know, use up, you know, the rest of a stocking. But because of that, she's got a kind of a weird ridge down the top middle of her head, but it's not gonna matter with this wig I'm making. So I need more goop. So we're gonna open our jar. I just realized my arm is completely in the way when I'm doing this, sorry. Make sure I get behind the ears, down at the nape of the neck. And latex won't hurt the doll. I tend to go over where I plan on cutting the wig. So I'm going like way farther down for her hairline and stuff than the end result is going to be. And I have a little napkin I use just to wipe the extra off my finger. And she's got some extra little strings that are annoying, so I'm just cut those off. And I'm just gonna plop her down here where the wind is for the rest of this. And normally I have 2 of these little flat boards going so I can do more wefts, but I'm actually gonna nibble on my food a little bit more. Now I'm gonna line this other side with wax, and I'm probably gonna have to make some more on a stick too. I probably will maybe get halfway with what's left on here. This other red wig that I showed at the beginning, I think I went through. I was using longer chopsticks, and I probably went through a good 6 or so of them. A lot of yarn. But by the time I'm done with that, doing this row, the head cap will probably be dry, so I can figure out the hairline of that and all that business. I also went and grabbed some different scissors that are less wieldy. We'll see how well they work. These are supposed to be for like threads and stuff, but oh, excuse me. Get out some more goop. Also going to reposition my fan a bit so that it's not blowing on my goop. There we go. That's better. Sorry, I keep inching towards the edge of the desk. I tend to be a desk edge worker. Yeah, that works all right. Now I'm going to line this other side with wax. I don't need audio from that. I wish I could remember the names of some of the videos I watched to learn how to do this stuff. I've never tried doing a hard cap or PVA glue cap wig just because, like, I don't know, it didn't seem strong enough to me, and I tend to like to make things pretty dang bulletproof. I've certainly seen some really beautiful ones out there, but you know, it just didn't appeal to me. Not to down that method or, you know, that type of thing. Just didn't work for me. But then a friend of mine told me that, you know, they made wigs with latex, and I was like, that's brilliant. You are a very smart person. So, credit to Menderoth for that. I suppose actually another tidbit of information I had forgotten about or forgotten to mention before. When it comes to acrylic yarn for this stuff, the what's it called? I don't remember the term for it, but basically the yarn string length can vary. So you never, until you start brushing out some yarn, you never know how long the fiber's actually gonna be. I tend to, when I find one I really like, I tend to make sure I have like an extra ball of that yarn, and I keep the label just so like if I need to find it again at some point I can. Cause like this is a pretty darn long acrylic yarn weft. Hello, Dan. I am using acrylic yarn to make wefts for making a wig for a doll. It's kind of a tedious, boring thing, but it's a lot fun when I get to hang out and talk with people. I'll show you the doll this is for. This is a Maddybears. She's got these cute sculpted scalloped thighs, and her wig cap that I'm making is drying at the moment. Put her back in front of the fan. And this is just acrylic yarn that I brushed out. And I'm using liquid latex for the glue part. So if you're allergic to latex, that this unfortunately won't work for you. You could use some of the same techniques, but just use a different type of adhesive. Once upon a time, I tried finding a different adhesive that worked like latex, but wasn't latex for those that are allergic to latex. And I think I had found one that seemed like it would work, but it was pretty expensive, and I never got it to sort of experiment with. Like if I ever wanted to make wigs to sell them, I might would do that, but I don't really want to do that, so it wasn't on the, didn't seem incredibly worth doing, I suppose. But some similar techniques also work with, water-based glue like PVA glue or Elmer's glue. I just personally like to be able to play a little bit less carefully with my dolls. I want to make the wig once. I don't want to worry about, not being able to wash it or fibers falling out, or, just, I like to make my stuff real strong, I suppose. Probably a little too much. I'm sure I end up adding on a lot of time and effort to these because I want to make it in such a manner, but I don't mind. It's my time, my materials, so I can do that. And to get the yarn to the point that it's at here that I'm working with, I end up having to brush it out, which makes a lot of floof. But I tend to keep the floof for other projects. I don't know if you can felt with it, but it'd be interesting to try. It probably doesn't felt very well because it's not wool, but it could be useful for being stuffing and something. Or maybe I'll try to make like a more poofy afro kind of wig, or who knows. Maybe I'll make, because this is white, maybe I'll make some sort of prop that's a cloud. The possibilities are endless. Hopefully you can't hear the fan too much in the microphone. I don't have my normal microphone on that I have been wearing, so the audio is probably not incredibly great, but if I had a bunch of engagement, I probably would get my other mic going, but it's only got a certain amount of battery life and whatnot, so figured I would just save it for now. Getting close to needing to make more whiffs. Which is not my favorite part of this process. Mostly because some of the sounds that get created by the brushes I use. It's just not pleasant. But is a necessary evil. Not really evil, but and if you do use latex or something else that acts like latex does, where it sticks to itself, you don't have to go through this tedious weft making ordeal, but I prefer to do it for mine. But you can literally just paint latex on your wig and throw fiber on it, and that's it. But I want to make this wig like really full and kind of like this one. So but yeah, I don't know that I have a ton other information to pass on. If you got any questions, feel free to ask. I tend to like to hang out like this while I do these projects just because I'm much better. I get more done faster if I am streaming and have I'm chatting with somebody versus putting on a movie or something, because I'll either completely not pay attention to the movie or I'll only pay attention to the movie and we'll just sort of stop working. And I definitely can't put on something that I haven't watched before. I mean, I could, but it's kind of pointless. Alright, this last one we're going to do 3 wefts at once. I'm going to go big. I've not done 3 wefts at once, but we'll see how it goes. And I'll check on the wig cap. I might need to change her direction so that the correct part of her is towards the fan that's on. Yeah, I kind of actually like the doing a 4 wefts all at once. It's kind of nice. The spread of fiber is really good, and I filled up a good chunk of space. And this other side over here is getting close to being dry. Let's see how she's doing. Yeah, one side seems a lot more cured than the other. Oh man. Now my least favorite part. Making wefts. But first, an apple. So I've got this neat thing I can put my ball of yarn in and pull it out, and this doesn't move, and the ball of yarn doesn't go everywhere, and my cats don't go crazy. And I've got this container that I wrap the yarn around. Just that's sort of how I measure the yarn. It's just the method that I use. I haven't been really exacting with it, just because, I don't know, doesn't matter. It's not that big of a deal. But I just do, oh, sorry, good number of wraps. I might even have to go get more yarn. I mean, this is a brand new skein that I put into a ball, so we'll see how it goes. All right, we'll give this a try. And then I just take my scissors and push it under all the strings and cut them. And then I take all of my yarns and I have them on the side. I have my chopstick. I take one, I fold the ends together in an equal way. I have a loop at the end, right? I put it under the chopstick. I take the two ends and pass it under the loop. And now it's tied onto the chopstick. And that's it. Yeah. Pretty simple. I used to have, I can't remember exactly how I did it. I used to have a method where I would tie a knot at the end, but I feel like this is a lot easier. I just tighten them all every once in a while. Keep them in line. Maybe one day I'll figure out some sort of like clamp them all down kind of method where I don't have to do this step. But it goes pretty quick. It's not too difficult. I think the biggest part is to make sure that your loops all go on in the same direction, because to tighten them you sort of pull a specific direction, and if they're at different directions then you might end up loosening some while tightening others, and yeah, just wouldn't make for good times. Okay, now we're on to the brushing part, which, you know, is just taking my pet brush and brushing them out. The sound of it's kind of awful. I'll try to not scrape on the table too much until I mute to finish it, but you just start at the ends and, you know, they kind of fluff out. There's actually kind of multiple styles you can end up sort of using yarn for. I've done some wigs where I just, you know, unravel and leave the little tendrils as hair. You know, you can brush this out and use it in its floofy, wavy form. You can also straighten it with a straightening iron. You could even curl it if you wanted. But yeah, just start at the bottom and brush, and then I'll flip it over and brush the other side. But the scraping of the brush against the table is kind of grating, so I'm actually gonna mute while I do it. Okay, now I think I'm gonna mark her hairline and get this wig cap off because it's cured decently well, good enough to do that. So I'll be right back. I gotta grab a marking utensil. At some point, I might do some experimentation on yarn for coloring, because I want to do some pastel hints of color with this white yarn. That's the center there. Sorry, I'm not very good at staying on target with this. Let me try to adjust that a little bit. Maybe this, actually, well, it is what it is. We'll just do what we can. So I'm just using a purple Sharpie to sort of rough in that and do some looking to see if it's even. It's a little tricky because, you know, there's other parts on here that are not evenly done, so it's like, is that straight? Is it not? I don't know. Yeah, I think lower is a little bit better. And her head shape is much odder compared to some of my other dolls, so I'm not actually super sure how I want to do the back. Because I obviously want to be able to take this wig off, but I also want it to stay on really well. Alright, I think that's gonna do. Always gotta be real careful with Sharpies around dolls. And once I have the shape cut, I'll actually use a little bit of rubbing alcohol to get the Sharpie off the latex, even though it's gonna get covered, so it'll never get to the resin, but I like to be real careful. So I'm just cutting those strings that I have tied around real carefully. Not scratching the resin. There we go. And first time peeling this off can be kind of nerve-wracking, but it's fine. As long as you don't stretch it a ton, like try to put your foot in it or something, it'll go back to its shape. You also want to make sure you don't sort of touch the latex to itself if you can help it, because it'll try to stick. And this is the part I was a little concerned about, just because, like, weird egg shape. Yes, you hear the front started sticking to itself. And the shape gets kind of funky when it's off the head, so that's why it's good to mark where you're going to cut. I'll flop cameras because I think that one's a little bit better since it's got a light. But yeah, now we have our head cap with our marking, so we can go in and do some cutting. I think I'm gonna do just some of the bigger initial trimming with these big scissors, just to get a good chunk of this flaily bits off. And that's the inside. Previous wigs that I made the wig head cap a lot thicker. Like I would do probably 6 or 7 layers of latex, but I don't know. It just, as I've made more wigs, that just feels unnecessary. So this time I'm trying to not do that. And unless you're making a ponytail wig, you really don't have to make the edge of your wig exactly perfect. I like to be in the habit of making my edges nice, even if it's just sort of for practice sake, because it's challenging to do the lining of it, you know, really well. I've made wig caps and be like, oh man, I wish I had not, you know, made that cut or made that shape. But, you know, it's all a learning process. Alright, so the way I drew the line for the back of the head seems weird, so I'm going to put it back on her head to check fit, but also just see how it be. Because sometimes, you know, maybe it fits a little differently. But this, luckily, looks pretty good. Yeah, I drew it wonky. And I could further reinforce this wig cap, you know, even after having cut the edges. I might even add some latex on this line in here and squunch it back on her head. But first, I'll grab some rubbing alcohol and wipe off these lines real quick. I'll be right back. Okie dokie. And unfortunately, this excess is really just kind of, I mean, you might have some leftover hose pieces that don't have latex on them that you could keep to use for patching or whatever. Because sometimes I've ended up like doing just little segments to be reinforced depending on the kind of wig I'm making. So I tend to keep the other scraps, but these tiny little things, like I can't think of anything good to do with these other than maybe if you roll them all into a ball and you could use it to get off rubber cement from something, or if you use masking stuff on a watercolor painting or something, but that's kind of reaching. So I'm just going to throw them away. Since her foot came off, I super love that her hands and feet all have sort of a key of a heart. Throughout the doll, there's a heart theme, which I love. It's super adorable. Oh, let me put her wig cap back on, which actually I'm gonna do the fill this part with a little more latex deal. sure it's where I want it to go. I don't really need to do another layer, but I had latex on my finger and why not? Alright, these wefts over here are still drying a little bit, so I think I'm going to do the unfun task of making more of this. I ordered a couple of things for the studio that should be arriving today that will be a good break to take when they get here. I picked out some lighting, movable lighting to have in my dolly cabinets and dioramas that I hope are going to work out as nice as I am thinking, but you know, things on paper aren't always as good in life, but that's why we can return stuff, you know? And I've made a lot of progress on this so far. I just gotta give my back a little bit of a breather sometimes. But his wig is going to be real nice when it's done. I'm excited to have a cute big poof. Maybe I could take a break and like mock up the outfit she's gonna have. I started wrapping the yarn a little bit different than I had been. I'm doing 2 strings at once instead of just 1. Seems to be going a lot faster. Which is good. I gotta figure out a little bit of a different rig for this overhead camera too. Oh, I think my stuff's here. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I got a headset to try. So I'm gonna get that going real quick to see if it improves the audio. Because right now it's just from the camera. Which, that audio isn't completely awful, but I'm sure it could be improved upon. Because I'm pretty sure the fan is being picked up a little bit. Not exactly sure how this thing works. I'm sure my theater friends could tell me. But let's see if I gotta take it off. A windscreen is gonna be needed for it. Couldn't hurt, right? And it's really lightweight. It's not gonna become incredibly annoying. Where is my receiver end? I see you made that part. Where's the other one? I'm also pretty soft spoken, so I'm hoping that will help with that too. Oh, here's to the camera. Where did it go? I know I saw it before I started streaming. Oh, right. It's right there. Alright, and maybe we'll compare mics too. Okay, so that's camera number. Okay, so this audio is from the camera right in front of me that's up here. I'm gonna swap. Okay. Alright, so now I'm using the Rode Go mic thing with a little lavalier mic, you know, on my shirt kind of thing. And now I'll swap to the mic I got in today. Hold on. Okay, so this is on the like sort of really light headset sort of mic that's meant for this type of thing. And it looks like this one's actually way better and might be too loud, question mark. Maybe. I don't know. Let's see.
I do have it all the way up on the, as far as the mic sensitivity on the Rode Go mic thing, so it'll just be one of those things to kind of look back and see how it goes. But I'm gonna wear it while I work and we'll see. Hopefully, it's an improvement. And I feel like it kind of has to be. It is weird feeling this little microphone on my chin thing. Maybe that's something I can adjust. But, yeah. So we'll just keep adding some more yarn onto this thing. I also got in some lights to use, hopefully, around my studio and stuff. We'll see. I'm not exactly sure what the color light temperature is gonna be, so it, maybe it won't work, but the thing that I liked is that they are magnetic and they have like a charging stand, which is nice because like I don't want to have to go and like plug in a bunch of these and unplug them. I want to just like pop them in the stand or take them out of the stand, move them all around so I can not have to have like wired lights everywhere and all that. One of my previous setups, I had modified some Billy bookcases to have hue light strips put in, and it was real janky. I mean, it worked. It was cool. But I didn't find that I ended up needing to have like RGB-ness going on for just my doll cabinet where they live if they're not in a diorama. It was just overkill, I suppose. And I could use those light strips somewhere else. Like I probably will end up using those in my actual dioramas now that I have diorama space. It's so nice having that again. I used to have 6 diorama spots at a previous place that I lived, and that was great. But I moved, and now it's fun to have it again, especially now that I'm not in a position where I have the potential to move every year, if that makes sense. I mean, I guess I could move, but I don't want to. I suppose, actually, I probably should get the lights charging. I doubt they're charged. Yeah, let's open this guy. I think they look like they're a lot smaller than I was expecting. But, I mean, that's not awful, I guess. Ooh, they're USB-C chargy too. But only 3 of them charge. Oh, I guess actually it does by magnet. Okay. Interesting. Oh, it's pretty bright though. There's a remote, isn't there? it's got a little protection thing. So this is actually like a really cool light, like cool temperatured light, which I don't know is exactly what I wanted. Can I don't think I can change temperature. So we'll just have to give it a go and see. Red is day mode. The other cool thing is it's got a motion sensor. Alright, so that's night mode, which I don't want. I want day mode. Okay, so red is day mode. So I'm gonna see how this looks real quick. Yeah, I think it'll be just enough. Yeah, that works. I'm not sure about the color temperature of the light, though. We'll see, we'll see. We'll play with these a little bit more later. Turn that off. The advertising for this made it seem like that they would be able to charge in all the banks, but that is not the case. Get these plugged in somewhere, then we can get back to the project. Okay, let's charge it now. Now we can go back to our regularly scheduled program. I got some similar lights for my spray booth, just so I can see a little bit better when I'm working in it. And those are real nice. They're bigger, but they don't have like a chargy station thing. That was a real nice feature. I just realized you could probably hear me like drink and stuff. Oops. It's gonna be real interesting going back and watching this to see how the audio's changed. Hopefully it's for the better. Kind of watching the sound meter as I do stuff. Normally I mute when I'm brushing yarn, but I kind of wanted to see how the microphone picks it up when I look at this in post. It definitely did look like it picked up the sound for sure. I just don't know how awful it was. But for brushing this one, I'm gonna mute. From a girl I used to know, we were inseparable years ago, but it wasn't all. Think about banana. You then and I love you now and I don't know how. And stand the dialogue. So my Maddybears girl. She's gonna have Okay, I didn't realize I was unmuted earlier. So I'm gonna, this strip is now dried, so I'm gonna take this off. And another thing, so when I did the strip, I tried to make it really straight because I'm gonna try to trim pretty close to where the latex stops. Just because, like, I don't need all that extra bulk. I wish I could better remember exactly how I did that red wig that I showed earlier. But we're just gonna do our best. And I'm just carefully peeling up and trimming excess. Because this would just add extra bulk that I don't need. So because this is so thin, I gotta be really careful and not let pieces of this touch until it's, you know, it's as I want it to be, or where I want it to be, I suppose. Because even though the latex is glued, if I stick it to another piece of latex, it will kind of bond together. Like this strip, if I fold it, it basically sticks together. So, gotta be careful. So I think, let's see, can I? Yeah, so for this wig, I'm pretty sure I did like a circular crown for it at the top of the head. And I don't think I'm gonna do that this time. I really should think more about exactly what I want her wig to do. I don't necessarily want a defined specific part. Though if I did do a part, it would probably be on the side. So maybe, yeah, maybe I'll do a little bit of a sort of upwards facing kind of deal. So I'm just folding the dried latex together so that it, you know, stays together, I suppose. Just to make a thicker part for the, where her part line is probably going to be. See how, like, thick that is, though? I do think I will keep this to put on. Should I keep this to put on last? I am gonna trim the latex part a little bit and put some latex on the bottom of this just to make sure it's all glued together real good. Yeah, see, I about cut it in half. Okay, now we'll let that dry. I suppose too, I don't really have to do all wefts. I just need to make sure that I'm better towards, like, make sure I'm super thick towards the top where I'm gonna be putting hair down. It's just been so long since I've done this, and I need to be in the YOLO, just do it kind of mode. I also need to make sure I put some of this like under her hairline too. So I do need to make more wefts, just to make sure I get that under hairline done real well. That feels like a good decision. But I think that is a thing for later me. I think I'm gonna take a little bit of a break. But thanks to those who hung out, and we'll see you a little later, because I'm sure I'll be back to do more.